Indian cricket and the quality of this side?
I can't say it enough, Dirk. In India, there's 1.5 billion people. If you make the first 11, you are pretty damn good, right? You've got to be tough, you've got to be hard, you've got to come through a very hard system. So we could say, some people say it's their second 11. My gosh, when you're 1.5 billion people all who love cricket like we're seeing here and see all around the world, I think we're going to give them a lot more credit than being their second 11. They deserve all the credit they get.
And likewise, what do you think that winning all 4 tosses, having this core group make it the most of the way through the summer, what room is there for improvement in the Australian side? What does that mean where this Australian side's at?
Obviously, we've got a lot of room for improvement. We've got some superstar players, but we've got to keep... I mean, if we lose a series 2-1 to India, on our home turf, with all those things you just said, there's a lot of room for us to improve, mate. And that's, in one sense, that's exciting. It's very disappointing tonight. We're going to all be hurting tonight, don't worry. And probably when we reflect on the series, but we've got lots of areas. Our batting particularly, I think there's been at times where we've had opportunities to nail the series actually and nail Test match, and we haven't been able to do it. So we're going to get a lot tougher with that, a lot mentally tougher with that.
And where is that? Where did you think those key moments were lost across the series?
Well, ultimately, our opening partnerships throughout the summer. You can imagine how passionate I am about opening partnerships in the top 3. Marnus has done a good job at 3. Stevie came good at the end at number 4, but we didn't nail our opening partnerships. I think the highest opening partnership was 80 in this second innings. Our middle order, we've got a lot of starts, all the things that are so obvious. We've just got to find out reasons why it's happening.
Where is your next cricket?
Next cricketer?
Yeah, the Test side. When do you expect that next series to come off?
I'd expect it to be in South Africa, yeah. I mean,
but when?
In February, yeah. Well, you know, and there's going to be, I know people are working overtime behind the scenes. As India came out here, as we went to England, in the end of the day, it's keeping the show on the road. As I said, I can't tell you how proud I am that there's been the Test series like this in the middle of a COVID pandemic. For India to come out, we're so thankful for India to come out and have this series. It's been a tough series, and I'd expect we'll have to do that, or what? Not have to. We will do the same for South African cricket.
Justin, thanks for your time. Australian cricket fans are going to be wondering how this series was lost. Is that the next debrief and discussion to have with Tim Payne and your fellow selectors?
Yeah, well, as all the fellow Australians will be thinking, we'll be thinking the same thing. Don't worry, I can't tell you how much this will hurt the 11 guys. I mean, and remember, there's been a lot of challenges this summer, and there's been a lot of mud thrown at our cricket team, and we'll stand up. And we'll, like we always do in Australian cricket, we'll learn from it and we'll get better.
Thanks for joining us.
No worries, thanks.
Justin Langer, the Australian coach, Quentin Hull and Dirk Nannis. Well, finally our friends, the Indian fans, have just been escorted out of the ground. They've been making a din ever since the winning runs were scored. A lap of honour from the Indian team. Their supporters have stuck around to celebrate what will go down as one of their greatest moments in the history of Test cricket. And 1988, the West Indies were the last team to win here. Fortress Gabba has been breached in stunning circumstances.
I think those fans would quite happily have stayed here overnight. They were elated that they've ended up having to get booted out, and I think these Indian celebrations will go on for a long time. That is one of the more memorable experiences that not only Indian cricket, world cricket has seen. What an amazing series we have had. And Test cricket, I agree with Justin Langer, Test cricket is alive and well. What a stunning tribute to the game this series has been and today has been. And that innings from Rishabh Pant to put them over the line earlier, Shubman Gill. I mean, these are young players who are standing up, young to the game, standing up and being the new progressive India without their normal captain who's the front man, the alpha male at the front that demands success. Rishabh Pant was behind the scenes just going about it quietly. You've got these young guys stepping up. The future of Indian cricket is very bright.
There's absolutely no questioning the quality of Stark, Cummins, Hazelwood, Lyon. Cam Green's come in as the all-rounder into that bowling attack this series. But we saw in the Ashes in 2019
he's got down safely.
Simon said it was
it just felt like you'd document where you were as all of that was unfolding.
He was on the roof.
India by 3 wickets at the Gabba. They win the series 2-1. The conversation will be a broad and sharp one, I'm sure. Enjoy it over the next few days. From an Indian perspective, well done to you from Australian cricket. It'll be next in South Africa. The Big Bash coming up tonight. The Scorchers and the Heat from Marvel Stadium. That's next on SEN.
Hi, it's Doug.
Tack to the one that they used and they went with all summer. If they're fit, they play. Moving on from that, after a couple of sort of mediocre performances from Mitchell Stark, I just think that he gets a little bit lost in games like this and when trying to force the pace. We spoke to him this morning how he has sort of that one gear, bowling flat out all the time, being the aggressor. I just think that he needs to develop another part of his game where he can take the foot off maybe a fraction and bowl smarter. I think he can bowl a lot smarter in that middle period and not be that aggressor all the time. Sometimes you just have to take your medicine and go, you know what, this bouncer thing that sometimes works, today it's not working. They went with it far too much today and he got punished as a result.
It's extraordinary the number of players that India have used, 20 in all. You think of the injuries, you think of the captain going home, you think of the humiliation over Adelaide and all out 36, 1-0 down. History will look back on this as the unlosable series for Australia, and they've lost it. So, do we look in-house, or do we just, for the moment, celebrate the wonderful tenacity of what Ajinkya Rahane and his men have done?
Of course, when you lose a series, the tendency is to look and think, well, you've got the wrong personnel. The core of the Australian team will not change. Whose position is up for grabs? Pucovski's fit, he plays. That solves your opening dilemma. You're right down to 4. Matthew Wade, trouble, sure. From 6 down is solid. The only person you can change is that number 5 spot with Matthew Wade. So, yes, I think that needs to be looked at, absolutely. But moving forward, you need a batting unit that's going to make runs when it counts and not make silly mistakes. Now, I don't know the answer to stopping batsmen making skill errors. It's execution errors, not necessarily all the time playing silly shots. At times they're playing reasonable shots in their mind, but just the execution's off. And I think that we, from a commentary position, can be very harsh on batsmen, say, oh, it's a terrible shot. But when you think about it and think about the thinking behind the shot and where their normal skills are, their good skills are and their high percentage skills are, I think sometimes we can be a little bit critical. But how do we fix the execution errors that they're making? That's the bigger question. I don't have the answer to that. And more importantly, I don't have the answer to that on flat Australian conditions. We didn't have raging seaming decks this summer. God help the Australian team if they go to England and have those sorts of troubles in England when the ball's moving. It's going to be a horrible time.
Thanks for your time during the test, Dirk. It was great to spend a lot of time in the box with you.
What a test to be involved in.
And what a series to be involved in. And the scenes, finally, the stewards here have been able to usher those Indian fans out onto Vulture and Stanley Streets. I'm sure they will literally be singing in dancing. And Vulture Street and Stanley Street tonight at the Gabba after this extraordinary victory by India. Vulture Street and Stanley Street tonight. 3 wickets with 3 overs to spare. India win the series 2-1 and take the Border Gavaskar Trophy back to their home country. And we'll tell stories about this 5 weeks or 6 weeks or so during this series as long as they play cricket in India. Andrew.
Thank you very much, Quentin Hull. Thank you, Dirk Nannis. Ian Chappell, Stuart Clark, Andrew Moore with you here for another 10 minutes or so to wrap it up. Not only the test, which India has so brilliantly won by 3 wickets, scoring 7 for 329, winning with 3 overs to spare. And Rishabh Pant named player of the match for his match winning 89 not out off 138 deliveries, 9 fours and a 6. He took 10 runs off the last Josh Hazlewood over to end the madness after Washington Sundar had reverse swept Nathan Lyon and was bowled with 10 runs required. And then Shardul Thakur went for the big slog and was caught by Lyon at mid-wicket off Hazlewood, and Rishabh Pant said, enough. I've been here for a good part of the day. We're going to win it right now. Ian Chappell, the Australian team, the disruption they had, and it was relevant throughout the entire series was the opening batsman, with Dave Warner missing the first 2 tests, Will Bukowski unavailable for the first 2 tests, and we had Joe Burns and Matty Wade. And it took until the second innings of this test for Australia to pass 50 as an opening combination for the second time in the series. That was the disruption. Bukowski didn't play here after such an impressive debut in Sydney. The rest, the only really other challenge was the number 5 spot, which Travis Head lost, and Cameron Green established himself at number 6. How do you reflect on Australia's series overall, and what may change if changes are needed heading to a 3-test series in South Africa?
Well, I think they're in pretty good shape, given the proviso that everybody's fit. So if you've got Warner and Bukowski opening, Labuschagne, Smith, then number 5's a hole that's got to be filled. Green, he's fine at number 6, and Green gives you some options as far as selection is concerned. Green, there's going to be times, and I don't know if they're allowing him to bowl enough at the moment to perform the role of third seamer. But, he has the ability to do that. And there's going to be times when, Australia's got to start looking for a wrist spinner. At the moment, Swepson's the man. So that opens up that option where Green bats at 6, and then you play 4 other bowlers, and 2 of them are quicks and 2 of them are spinners. So, I think Australia, given that when they get everything together, I think they're in pretty decent shape.
Stewie, what say you?
Look, it's a tough one. Very hard if you look outside this 11. Who else you could add? James Pattinson will, he's thereabouts. Yep. He got injured and fell off mowing his lawn or something like that. So keep him off the lawn mowing duties, and we'll have another one available. The spinning option, Ian mentioned, yes, if we had a wrist spinner, that'd be great. Swepson's there or thereabouts, or starting to find his way, but he's still a long way off being Nathan Lyon, who's got, let's be honest, he's almost got 400 Test wickets, and we talk about him in such glowing terms all the time. Why would we want to get rid of him? From a batting point of view, Marnus 3, Smith 4. If we're going to go with Green, and he looks like a player that's going to be around for time to come, well, we're just going to have to live a little bit with him, like we did with Mitchell Marsh for all those years. But he looks like he can bat, and whether he's allowed to bowl or not, I don't understand why he didn't bowl a lot in the second innings, but other than maybe he was not allowed.
And Bukowski and Warner at the top?
Well, Warner definitely, and Bukowski, as long as he's fit, I think he showed enough in the one game he played to play. I think the bolter, I'm going to make this Tanveer Sanger, who bowls right arm leg spinners. He's an absolute bolter. But he's doing well in the BBL. Will they get him into the Shield team at some stage, which will be later in the year? It'll be before they go to South Africa. But that's the only option they've got to pick guys from. Where else can they find them? Unless they're going to go pick them out of club cricket, which they're not going to do.
Well, the other interesting thing is if this tour of South Africa goes ahead, you've got the Test squad heading there, and there's a separate T20 squad heading to New Zealand. So I wonder if young players like that, if they're not taken as an extended squad, and they'll have to take an extended squad for net bowling and everything else, like the Indians have endured, do we see those players get an opportunity in the 5 T20 games against New Zealand? Only about a minute and a half left. I think with what happened today, we need to end with the highlights, because there were so many. One quick highlight of the series, Chappelli, for you.
India's resilience, you just can't go past it.
I'm going to go with Pujara's, his resilience today. He got hit more times than he hit the ball and found a way to just get through it.
If resilience is the key word for India, he had it tattooed all over himself. They look like red cricket balls on his body right now. But
I don't know if it's good batting or just stupidity, but whatever, and he didn't get out.
Stewie, Chappelli, thank you very much. It's been great fun.
Yeah, it's been great fun, Andy.
It's been a lot of fun. Thank you, Andrew, and everybody else. Enjoyed it.
Great to have you on ABC Grandstand Cricket, Ian, this summer. Can't believe it's over. Thank you to everyone here at this hub, and NEP put us up with all these amazing monitors and scoreboards and so on. To Chappelli and Stuart Clark, and to Kristen Beams, and to the voice of summer, Jimmy. It's been a delight to work alongside you, and your been on fire again for this test match in the Australia Renegades. We've had a lot of fun, and, mate, it's a delight to work with you. And also to our off-air team here, Dennis Carnahan, Dash the DJ, Renelle Mower, who's now covered 2 tests, and they've been both incredible tests. Good job, Nelly, and to Fletcher Doherty and the digital team, thank you. And to the team at the Gabba, Quentin Hull, Dirk Nannis and Aussie Bob and Zane Bojack, to Jules and Aaron in the studio, to Alison Mitchell and Sunil Gavaskar, we've missed them the last 2 tests. Andrew Williamson has put so much together, and Matt Clinch, we've missed you, Clinchy, our executive producer. We haven't seen him for 2 tests, but still somehow on top. And thank you for listening. I'm Andrew Moore. This is how India created history.
Cricket, Australia versus India, on your radio, ABC Sport Digital Radio, and on the ABC Listen app.
So Cummins is in again. Sharma's edging and he's caught by Payne. There's the wicket Australia want. Sharma is out. He's been brilliantly caught by Payne, diving away to his right. A good keeper's catch in front of slip, and it's Pat Cummins, of course, who gets the breakthrough. India 1 for 80. Bowls out there now, and that is out. He's caught it slip, just as you forecast. He pitched it up. Shubman Gill played a loose shot, and he sneaked it to the left of Smith, who took the catch. Lyon gets a wicket at last. He's up to 398. Outside edge, clear, straightforward catch.
The Cummins bowling, and edge to keeper Payne, and Rahane is out. Cummins takes the wicket. It came back toward his chest. The bat was still there. It took the neck, and Australia has its 3rd wicket. It's the wicket of Captain Rahane for 24.
Cummins is coming in, and Pujara's forward, and he's beaten a bill for LBW. That's close, out. He's given him out. He's going to review it, of course. Oh, it's hitting the top of the leg stump. Top of the leg stump, and Pujara is out, LBW. That's the wicket that Australia have been striving for hours.
Cummins runs past him, bowls to Agarwal, drives in the air, caught by Matthew Wade at cover. What else would you expect from this series?
Now we're back with the Washington Sundar Lion bowls, and he plays a reverse sweep. He's bowled. He's bowled. He tried to take that off his stumps. Hazelwood goes in. Tucker hits it in the air. Where's that one gone? To hand? Yes.
Oh, no.
He's out caught. He's hit a stinker on the onside. Lobbed a simple catch to Nathan Lyon. He was trying to flick that away for a boundary for the winning runs, and he's been caught. Hazelwood goes in, and he gets a full toss, and he drives it through mid-off. It's going down towards the boundary. It's going to go for 4. It's all over. India have won. India have won magnificently. You could say this is one of the greatest wins India have ever had in their test history. They've won by 3 wickets. They've chased down a score that's never been achieved on this ground, and they're out there hugging and carrying on with delight. The whole of their squad, and there's a lot of people in their squad, and they're all bursting onto the ground. This has been a fabulous test match.
Well, that was an awful lot of fun, wasn't it? The end of the series between Australia and India. India chasing down 328 to beat Australia, retain the trophy, and come away with one of the finest test victories surely in the history of the game. A remarkable night's action. It's been a huge amount of fun to be following it wherever you've been in the world, keeping an eye on that. And the cricket doesn't stop here on 5 Live Sports Extra. We're moving across Australia from Brisbane to Melbourne for some big Bash League action for you. It is the Perth Scorchers against the Brisbane Heat. I should just say, before I bring you up to date with where we are in this BBL game, that all the reaction from the test match at the Gabba available on the BBC Sport website and app. The podcast with all the interviews, post-match analysis from Jim and the ABC team, that'll be up available on BBC Sounds later on today. So if you have missed anything, just have a listen, and I heartily recommend that you do. One of the most extraordinary test matches you could wish to see, and doesn't it set up the next 12 months for England so beautifully as well? 9 test matches against India, then the Ashes. So much to look forward to. and what a treat that we've had over the last few weeks with that coverage from the ABC in Australia of a series won eventually by 2-1 by India, who retained the Border Gavaskar Trophy. So our BBL action this morning sees the Perth Scorchers taking on the Brisbane Heat. The Scorchers, in terms of where they are in the league, well, they're 5th. They lost for the first time in 6 matches last time out against the Sydney Sixers. The Brisbane Heat, meanwhile, they're 6th, and they have won 4 of their last 5, so they're in decent form. It sets this clash up nicely. It's the 44th match of the tournament, and it's a tournament that's heading towards its crunch stage of the group phase, just 3 points separating 2nd and 7th, and we've got a match here that could go a long way for one of these sides to ensuring that they'll be in the playoff mix as we head into the final weeks of the series. Where are we in terms of the game then? We're 3.5 overs into it. Liam Livingstone and Colin Munro are out in the middle for the Perth Scorchers, who have been asked to bat first by the Brisbane Heat. We've seen Jason Roy, the England batsman, out for 4 already, but Liam Livingstone looks in good touch. He's just hit a big 6 down the ground. 31 for 1 is the score. The Brisbane Heat looking to take a second wicket with Wildermuth running into bowl. He got the wicket of Roy earlier on, caught in the covers, and he's bowling at Liam Livingstone, who's playing a shot behind square on the leg side. He's got 6 more. It's a fabulous hit from Liam Livingstone. Back-to-back 6s from the tall Lancashire batsman. This one just whipped away behind square. 6 more, 37 for 1, and it's hello to a former Scorchers BBL winner and England Test batsman Michael Carberry. Carbs, lovely to see you. We'll talk plenty about the India-Australia game, because how can we possibly not? But first of all, this game, 37 for 1. This is a decent start from the Scorchers, but no Jason Roy.
Yeah, disappointing to lose Jason Roy, I'm sure. But more than handy start from Scorchers. They've been in good touch of late. Obviously lost the Sixers, but seem to have got their act together in the previous 4 or 5 games, which is good to see. And you'd say both teams really in similar positions, just sort of peaking at the right time, because I think that's the key with, let's say, a longer tournament this year with obviously unprecedented times. It's all about peaking at the right time. So it appears that these two have just found some form.
Well, they may have found some form. What they haven't found is the ball at the moment, because there is various people. Marvel Stadium is the venue. It's the Melbourne ground with the roof on that is used for BBL fixtures. It always seems to be the way that whenever Marvel Stadium is used, it's a gloriously sunny day. It's never one of the rainy days where they actually need to use the roof. That is the venue that's being used. Liam Livingstone has just walloped the ball into one of the vacant banks of seating.
But they can't find the ball,
and they now can't find the ball. I can see where it's gone.
Yeah.
Second
X
row.
marks the spot.
Yeah, second row. I'm going to say about seat D, something like that. It's they have now replaced the ball. It's not that old, 3.4 overs old, and the umpires just wipe it down with one of those sanitising alcohol wipes, and we can get on with the game. But there's a fair few supporters in, but there's also quite a few empty banks of seating, and it was one of those that Liam Livingstone has targeted to move his score on to 17. So 37 for 1 is the Scorchers score against the Brisbane Heat side that have been starting to show some form as well. Munro is on strike now, as pushed into the offside, and it is a single with Livingstone. It's Livingstone on strike. Who are we kidding? I was going to say the scoreboard tricked me for a moment, but it is Livingstone on strike, and he pushes the ball into the offside. There is no run. 1 ball left of the 4th over. We'll be hearing from Atif Nawaz as well. My name's Henry Moran. It's lovely to have you with us. If you have been following the cricket overnight, drop us a line at BBC TMS, hashtag BBC Cricket. Let us know what you made of it all. For the first time in my lifetime, Australia have lost a game at the Gabba. Test cricket. It's madness. Livingstone on strike. Wildermuth into him. He's going again into the leg side. This time a fielder comes in and takes the catch. Livingstone goes for 17. Xavier Bartlett sprinting in from the square leg boundary, sliding on one knee, taking the catch. Now Livingstone has to walk past a celebrating group in teal, and knows that perhaps he's just given that away a little bit. 2 6s, he just couldn't resist going big again, and he falls. 37 for 2 after 4.
Yeah, real shame there for Liam Livingstone. He was, probably a little bit unnecessary. I'd say after collecting 2 6s, you think damage is done in the over. You still got obviously the surge to come later on, and you'd want someone like him who's in playing well to take advantage of that. But unfortunately, not to be. So that's another wicket for the men in teal, and you sense a little bit of rebuilding.
There is, and there's no Mitchell Marsh in this Scorchers side, still missing with a side strain. I'll go through the two teams for you so we get everything in line. And so you're across exactly who we're looking out for in this game. The two England openers, Roy and Livingston, both out for the Scorchers. Livingston for 17, Roy for 4. But still to come in the Perth Scorchers lineup, we've got Colin Munro out there at the moment on 14, not out. Josh English will join him. Cameron Bancroft, Ashton Turner's the captain. Aaron Hardy, Jai Richardson, leading wicket taker in the tournament. Andrew Tye, Jason Behrendorff and Fawad Ahmed. So that is the Scorchers side. The Brisbane Heat lineup with Chris Lynn, who's been in exceptional form of late, 50 in the last game. Max Bryant, Joe Denley is at 3. Joe Burns, Jimmy Pearson, Lewis Gregory, who's had a good tournament, the Somerset man. So far, Jack Wildermuth, Mark Steketee, Xavier Bartlett, Mornie Morkel and Matthew Kuhneman. Mornie Morkel is going to bowl this over. He has played a couple of matches in the tournament and interestingly, he doesn't qualify as an overseas. He is technically an Australian cricketer. For the context of this, married to an Australian.
Yes, that's right, yes.
Has citizenship and so features.
Quite a handy pickup then.
Yeah, not bad, no.
Not bad, yeah.
It's not. There are worse players that you could have to pick up than Mornie Morkel. However, he's having to wait just for a moment. Now he begins a long approach and in to bowl, and cries of no from the batsman Munro, who's just looking at the toe end of his bat, having defended into the ground. Mornie Morkel, who's had an extraordinary career, of course, at Surrey, latterly in the English game, but with South Africa. 86 test matches, 117 ODIs, 44 T20s. Remarkable servant to the game, over 500 wickets for South Africa, and
very, very fine bowler.
And he now finds himself in the blue of the Brisbane Heat. Morkel bowling to Munro, driven hard. It's a good stop in the covers because that was flying to the back. It really was hit hard. Remember, it's a single taken, 38 for 2.
Yeah, it's like you're one of those. You're grateful that you're in the heat of Australia, as opposed to being over in the UK early season when one of those are drilled at you, hit you on the wrist or the knee.
Oh,
it can be quite painful.
Yeah.
Let me tell you.
Particularly in April when it's cold. When you spend the rest of the day sort of trying to get the feeling back in your hands. And,
you got that nice lump just on the wrist, or.
Yeah, and then you pull on the batting gloves later in the day, and it doesn't close because it's so swell. Yeah, it's moments like that. I can see in your eyes you don't miss playing as much as you might.
Really?
Morkel into Inglis, whipped away into the leg side. Nicely played. It'll flicker the wrists, and he'll pick up a couple of runs. 3 fielders converging upon it at deep mid wicket. Throw comes in. It could be 3 runs here if they're quick, and we'll wait to see what the scoreboard tells us. As 3 runs added, 41 for 2 is the score. Morkel hasn't conceded a boundary, but be frustrated because this isn't the biggest ground, but he somehow found a little pocket. So nudge 3 runs.
Yeah, still looks like he's got some of the old pace, Mornie Morkel. Very tall man, up around 6'7", you'd say, somewhere around that. So around that height, could bowl around about 150s in his heyday.
He's a massive man in every sense, but he's still wearing a shirt that looks like he's borrowed it from his dad. Do you know what I mean? It's huge. He's running in a sort of bed sheet. Sprinting in now. Munro on strike, driving. Nicely timed again, but that fielder Burns, who is still...
It's a bit shapeless, you would say, wasn't it?
It's not... I wouldn't describe it as fitted.
Yeah, it's not one of these... I mean, who would have thought I would be saying this? But, back in the day, I mean, a lot of tracksuits were shapeless. And then we went through this phase towards the back end of my career where you could barely fit into these new style, what they call skinny fit.
Yeah, the skins,
that's the
compression things. Munro up on his toes, working the ball into the leg side and lumbering across to pick up is Mornie Morkel, but instead a fielder from the deep will salvage the ball, and just 1 run is taken. So 5 from the over so far. We've got a ball left of this 5th over. Morkel strides back to his mark. He's got this interesting way of starting his bowling approach.
He's got a turn, hasn't he?
He does the sort of... He turns
almost
like a...
looks round the wall, doesn't he?
Yeah.
Sort of.
He does a sort of lap, a kind of donut at the end of his mark.
Yeah.
He's turning slightly more like a cruise ship in later years, but he's sprinting in now. Inglis defending into the ground. Morkel will pick up and the over comes to an end. A good over from Morning Walk, 5 from it. A fine bowler, and as you say, not a bad person to be able to pick up as a local player.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you'll bring a lot of experience. Obviously, you know that length to hit. He's toured Australia numerous times in his career. Done very well. I believe he's been part of a series winning team with South Africa and Australia, so you'd be well accustomed to these conditions. So, yeah, I think that's a fine pickup in terms of Brisbane Heat for sure.
Not played international cricket for a couple of 3 years, close to now. His last test was part of a series. I'm just trying to recall what happened. Australia in South Africa in 2018. I'm sure something significant occurred in that series, something to do with the hardware shop. I don't know. I can't remember.
Sander.
Something like that. I can't remember. That was his final series for South Africa. You'll forgive us referring to Australia's national side today, because, and it's not about, you know, England against Australia. This is about the joy of Test cricket and what it can bring, because we've seen one of the most extraordinary games overnight. Kuhnemann into bowl to Munro, starting his over, left arm spin, and Munro will work the ball down the ground for 1. The score advances to 43 for 2. Yesterday,
Certain amount of pleasure in your voice there, Henry.
Because I love the game, Carbs. I love the game. It's WinViz is this tool which analyses all the data, crunches it together, and says this is what is going to happen probability-wise. Make of it what you will, but it is good. I mean, teams, base their picks and all sorts on the data that the company provides. And they said at the close of play after day 4, India had a 2% chance of winning. Now, that doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It just means there's a 1 in 50 that it will. Inglis on strike is short, and he pushes the ball out to deep cover for 1, 44 for 2. But to chase down 328 when the next highest chase was, I think, 257 back in the 1950s. And Virat Kohli has tweeted this morning, what a win to everyone who doubted us after Adelaide. Stand up and take notice. Exemplary performance, but the grit and determination was the standout. Kuhnemann into bowl to Munro, working down the ground for 1 more. Just easy run scoring at the moment for this partnership. Happy to keep the scoreboard going, 45 for 2.
And what makes this win more remarkable is they've done it without Virat Kohli, who's obviously by far and away their standout player, and the amount of injuries they've had as well. So they're not even been really playing their, probably their best 11.
Kuhnemann in bowling, and Inglis off the back foot, pushing to deep cover for 1 more, 45 for 2. Well, that's the thing, 46 for 2, I should say. That's the thing. It's been every game. You've seen players dropping out. It's Jasprit Bumrah can no longer play. Ravi Ashwin's out, and you have to turn to players who've got no Test experience. Munro on 17 in the BBL. Kuhnemann bowling to him. A quicker ball this time. Spears through into the gloves of Jimmy Pearson, and there is no run. So 4 from the over so far. 46 for 2 is the score.
It's fair to say there's a lot of depth in Indian cricket at the moment. And I think Virat Kohli has to take a lot of credit for those performances, that steal he's put into Indian cricket to now be able to go.
Munro deep in his crease defending, and there is no run. Over concludes 46 for 2.
They've almost put that hoodoo to bed about being a team that can only thrive in Indian conditions. With a win like that, it's proven that even without their best players necessarily involved due to injury, they can still go to places like Australia. You say, the Gabba's been one of Australia's strongest grounds. To go and beat Australia on their strongest ground, I mean, rightly so, like the tweet says, everyone should be standing up in world cricket looking at performance thinking this is now the team to beat. I know New Zealand are top of the tree in terms of Test cricket, but you think on a performance like that certainly has to put India top of the tree.
And here's the thoughts of Sachin Tendulkar on social media. Every session we discovered a new hero, all in capitals, he says. Every time we got hit, we stayed put and stood taller. Congratulations, India. And just a little bit of context in terms of this victory. Andrew Wu, the Australian journalist, says, to put into perspective India's win, the last team to beat Australia at the Gabba in 1988 had Viv Richards, Gordon Greenidge, Curtly Ambrose, Malcolm Marshall and Courtney Walsh. This India side was severely depleted, missing 7 of its best 11, and that says a lot. It really does. I mean, when you say those names, you realise how long ago it is as well. Inglis on strike as Morning Morkel starts the 7th over, worked into the leg side for a single. The score moves to 47 for 2. And And just a final quote from Sachin Tendulkar as well. We pushed boundaries of belief to play fearless but not careless cricket. Injuries and uncertainties were countered with poise and confidence. I wouldn't say necessarily poise and confidence for the final 3 overs where reverse sweeps were attempted, ramp shots to get over the line when all that was needed was... It was the most entertaining half an hour of cricket. Well, it was the most entertaining.
That's what you get with Rishabh Pant.
He's brilliant. I mean, it's just... As Jim Maxwell said on commentary, normally it's the set batsman that has to tell the man coming in to calm down, not the other way round. But I mean, it was something else, honestly. Morning Morkel at the end of his mark, running into bowl to Munro, round the wicket now, and Munro swinging, but a bottom edge only, and it finds the fielder in the offside. 1 run is scrambled. It's been a while since we've seen a boundary. 48 for 2.
It's been hard to get away, Morning Morkel, hasn't he? He's they say he brings a little bit of difference to the table, height and bounce. He's probably not the pace he once was, but certainly still right up there. And these 2 Scorchers batsmen have sort of found it difficult to really hit him off that sort of back of a length that he's bowling at the moment.
Inglis on 6. And dead ball calls the umpire. I think Morning Morkel has just lost his delivery stride. Is he knocked the bail off? Possibly. No, there's a little bit of loose ground just where he was taking off. You go back to the previous test match between Australia and India, and the bad blood in it, where you've got the words said between Tim Payne and Ravi Ashwin, and one of the sentences was, "You wait till we get up to the Gabba," which I didn't realise he meant it in quite such a generous way. But maybe
I think he'll be sitting there ruining that comment.
I think he will. It's been quite a tough few weeks for the Australian skipper.
That's why I always believed I wasn't good enough to use my mouth when I was playing. Keep it to bat and ball.
Yeah, and then when you've retired,
that's right.
Take up commentary and say whatever you like.
That's right, absolutely.
I think there's something to be said for that. Inglis is on 6. Oh, appeal for LBW. It's full. It looks pretty good, but the umpire's not interested. Jogs away. Saves himself getting hit from a throw at the non-striker's end. Morkel looked keen and enthusiastic, but the umpire showed no interest. 49 for 2. It was probably drifting down the leg side, just looking at the replay. And the umpire wasn't at any point interested in that. He was ducking out the way as soon as the appeal was made. Morkel, fourth ball of his over, he, again at the end of his mark, turns, does the lap, and begins the stride in round the wicket to bowl to the left-handed Munro. It's hit in the air, down the ground. It's a nice connection, but it won't be more than just a single, because there is a fielder in the form of Steketee patrolling things on one of the practice pitches that's actually at the corner of the ground. It's not on the square, if you like, because it's a drop-in pitch, and so they've got some practice pitches at one end of the ground, which, if you're diving to try and save a boundary, can be a little painful.
This time we need the old tubey grip on the knees and the elbows. It used to be very much like playing at the Oval back in the day before the OCS stand was built. The practice wickets used to be just below or just in front of the boundary rope.
Ooh, good ball from Morkel. Beats the outside edge of Inglis's bat. Runs through to Pearson. And a dot ball to finish. Well, not quite finish. 1 ball left of the over. Canterbury, I think, has got those pitches on the corner of the ground as well, down by the pavilion.
Yeah, they did. They've now moved them
Have they?
To out the back now. So, yeah.
It does slightly ruin the look of the ground, because you suddenly just from nowhere got a load of cricket pitches, slightly ruining the aesthetic.
Well, I was there when it was the tree. The tree used to be getting away from time to time. You under a high catch, and then suddenly you're having a meeting with an oak tree. What type of tree was it again? I can't remember.
It's the lime tree.
A lime tree, that's right. Yeah.
Morning Morkel sprinting into bowl to Inglis, who's driving. Nice timing, a sort of pistol crack as the echo around the Marvel Stadium, but the ball only goes as far as Burns. The over comes to an end. I'm going to get out of the way and let Atif Nawaz take up commentary, but I'll leave you with a thought on that. It's the one thing that when you explain cricket, particularly to, say, someone from America, a huge sporting country, and you say, oh yeah, one of our grounds, there's a tree in the middle of it.
They look at you horrified, don't they?
It's a tree, why don't you cut it down yet? Tradition.
Can't do that.
Can't cut it down.
It's listed.
51 for 2, 7 overs gone. Our Tim's going to take up commentary after a few words from Michael Carberry.
Dear, oh dear. Can't just go around cutting our trees like that, man. No. That's what makes the ground what it is. Stick to your baseball, is what I say.
Good morning.
Hello, my good friend. How are you?
I'm very, very well. How are you, Michael?
I'm all right, mate. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling very well. And what a morning of Test cricket. Exhilarating, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, I know we've been going on about it, but it really is. A lot of people have called it the greatest Test series win of all time. What do you think? Is that overstating it a little bit? Are we caught up in the moment, or was it really that extraordinary?
I mean, unfortunately, I haven't had time to watch all of it, due to work and other commitments, as I say. But I mean, looking at the scores, it's been amazing.
Lewis Gregory in now with a full delivery. He's been driven to mid-off for no run. At the Marvel Stadium in Melbourne, the Perth Scorchers have been put into bat after losing the bat flip to the Brisbane Heat. They're 51 for 2 after 7.1 overs. And the Big Bash is continuing, and we've seen many somber faces at the Big Bash today owing to an extraordinary Test series win by India, who won the final Test match of that series by 3 wickets earlier this morning. As Gregory comes in again, just back of a length, this time driven and ricocheted by the boiler. I did have a weird shower this morning. Flicked to mid-on for just the single. So they started reasonably well, the Perth Scorchers, but just at the edge of that power play, losing Liam Livingstone has taken the momentum out of this innings. 52 for 2 after 7.2 overs. They've got to kind of recover. We've seen that kind of 150 to 165 mark hit very, very frequently in this tournament. It's often a winning total as well, I've seen.
Yeah, I don't think it's case in point for them to panic here at this stage, Scorchers, but you do feel they do need to start thinking about getting a little bit of a shift on. You don't want to, as I say, take away the momentum that Liam Livingstone gave them up front, and just allow the likes of Gregory and Morné Morkel to sort of just rattle through their overs. They will start to pick up the pace a little bit, but they are in the notion of having the 2 over surge to come as well. So if one of these two are in, it'll be easier with the likes of the lower order to come in. Obviously, they're missing Mitchell Marsh still. That'll be a huge factor as well. So I think they have to obviously factor that into their plans as well. But important here to keep building that partnership, and then obviously look to take the surge at some point.
Yes, it's just gone into their shells a little bit. Monroe's got 20 off 20, and Inglis has 8 off 10. And Gregory now about to bowl the 4th delivery of his first over. He's only gone for 2 so far, bowling quite tightly. And just as I say that, down the track comes Inglis. He smashes it over extra cover. It races away for 4. Inglis into double figures now. A much needed boundary to break the shackles perhaps for the Perth Scorchers. 57 for 2 after 7.4 overs.
Yeah, very good batting I think from Josh Inglis. He's picked a good option there with the mid-off up in the ring, and Gregory not express pace, and probably not as getting as bounce as someone like Morné Morkel, so he's advanced down the track and just eased it over really. Great shot.
Gregory in now once again, full delivery, almost Yorker length, flicked into the leg side by Inglis. He'll take a single. Slightly overzealous throw from the deep there, but it didn't cost them anything. 58 for 2 after 7.5 overs. Very small crowd at the enormous Marvel Stadium, as we say, with the retractable roof. And I haven't seen Spider-Man or Captain America anywhere, but they do have rather unusual sponsors in Australia as well, don't they, for their stadiums?
I have been part of a Marvel game, I will say. We had a Superman versus Batman game with the Sixers. It was quite funny.
In comes Gregory once again, this time driven nicely and neatly all the way along the ground to long off for a single. It's the end of the 8th over, 59 for 2 after 8 overs. I want to hear more about this game.
Yeah, so basically it was around the Batman versus Superman movie. So if anyone can remember that far back.
Dawn of Justice.
That's the one. So we had special shirts made. I think we were Superman. So we had our orange shirts, but with the Superman logo. And the Sixers had their Batman logo on their shirts. So we played the game as per normal.
That's outstanding. I feel obliged to point out that Batman and Superman are DC Comics characters, and we're playing at the Marvel Stadium today. I believe I'm what's characterized as a nerd. So 59 for 2 after 8
stand
overs.
corrected.
No, but it's a pretty cool game. You kept the shirt, I imagine?
No, it went into an auction, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I think they were auctioned off.
It's probably worth a few quid as well. In fact, Henry Moran, just behind us, has picked up the image. That's a very cool
So we were
logo.
Batman. Sorry, we weren't. Yeah, we got that completely wrong.
You were Batman.
Yeah, we were Batman. Yeah.
The sponsor's logo slightly spoils it, but I do think it's quite a nifty shirt. You can find one of those on eBay. In comes Stakiti as this ball's just been played to backward point for no run. More pressure from the Brisbane Heat. 59 for 2 after 8.1 overs. Remember, the Perth Scorchers have been on a good run of late. They've won 4 of their last 5 games. They lost their previous game, but up until then, they've had a great run, a little comeback in this. Remember, the top 5 teams in the Big Bash qualify for the playoffs. For team number 5, it's a little bit tricky. You've got to win something like 4 games in a row to win the tournament, but you're still in the hunt. Crucially, in comes Takiti once again. This time smashed down the ground, uppish by Monroe, just wide of the fielder in the deep, who parries and keeps the ball down and keeps it in the field. Just the one run. It looked like it would either clear the fence or land in the hands of a fielder. In the end, got away with it. 60 for 2 after 8.2.
Yeah, he just plinked that enough. You felt Monroe. It would have been heart in mouth for an instant there, as the ball just seemed to keep carrying, and the fielder probably just not quite picking it up, or probably expecting actually to get to him a lot quicker than it did, and it just obviously plugged. So a lucky let off for Monroe. But it just seems to be struggling with his timing a little bit in the last few overs, Monroe.
Yeah, 22 of 23 for him thus far. Stakiti in once again, this time pulled by Monroe. Again, doesn't quite get all of it, but enough of it to get it behind square, all the way to the boundary for 4. In fact, I beg your pardon, that was Inglis who was on strike. It did look like a very un-Monroe shot, to be fair. 17 of 13 for him, 64 for 2 after 8.3 overs. Short and dealt with Michael Carberry.
Absolutely, and Josh Inglis, I do like him in this role, I have to be honest. In this sort of middle over, he's a very cheeky sort of player, but very adept. He scores in weird areas, but very good on the short ball. He plays a lot of his cricket at the whacker, so he would be very accustomed to the bouncing ball, but controlled that very nicely.
He's looking good so far. 17 of 13 for him. At 64 for 2 after 8.3 overs. The Scorchers now then. Stakiti in, bowls a back of a length delivery, an attempted cover drive from Inglis, gets a leading edge which goes into the mid-wicket region. They take a single. And a little bit of a fumble from the keeper, but well backed up by Chris Lynn, and only the single. So Inglis now on to 18 of 14. If you're just joining us a little bit earlier, the Brisbane Heat won the bat flip and elected to field first. The Perth Scorchers started nicely before losing both of their opening batsmen. Jason Roy gone for 4 and Liam Livingston gone for 19. 65 for 2, the Perth Scorchers. In comes Takiti. This time the ball's been worked into the leg side. They take the first one quickly. They want the second. They will not get it. Excellent fielding in the deep by Turner. And the score is 66 for 2. And the big news in the cricketing world this morning is, of course, that India have beaten Australia at the Gabba for the first time since 1988. It's before Henry Moran was born.
Good grief.
In fact, I've just seen a tweet from Harry Kane, which reads, "Unbelievable Test series win. Every Test match was exciting to watch." So it's nice to see the England captain of the football team congratulating India. Short outside the off stump has been cut away into the deep for a single. I don't know who's been more pleased about this win, Carbs. I don't know if England fans are more pleased than India fans. Of course, they forget that.
It seems that way when Australia lose Test match. Yeah, well,
mind you, they've got to remember they're playing this India team 2 consecutive series after this. 67 for 2 after 9. I know it's very early, Carbs. Very, very early, but having watched England against Sri Lanka and a little bit of Australia and India against Australia, how do you think that series is going to shake out with England touring India?
Well, I would still think, look, India is still the greatest challenge out there for any team going there.
Greater than Australia and Australia?
I think what this win from India's shown is, I don't think teams have that fear going to Australia as they once did.
In comes Wildermuth now. This time it's a half volley. He's lucky to get away with it. Smashed extra cover, no run.
I just don't think certain teams. India's. I think New Zealand was another one. Played on. Yes, they lost, but I don't think teams go to Australia now with the same fear maybe teams of yesteryear did. They actually see it now as a real opportunity to go and put a marker down. I think now, for me, India is the team to beat, and I've felt that way for quite a number of years.
Wildermuth in now, short. It's been pulled by Inglis into the gap. One bounce into the fence. What a shot that was. It was short, and he was onto it in a flash. 71 for 2. Lovely shot.
And I think Virat Kohli must take a lot of credit for how he's transformed the mindset of Indian cricketers, certainly in terms of the batsmen, to go out there and take the Australian bowlers on. As opposed to, say, India have all had fine batsmen but struggled outside of India.
I heard you talking about Virat Kohli to Henry earlier as well, about his contribution to this team.
Absolutely.
And the mentality of the team. And I've got a question for you after this delivery, as Wildermuth comes in once again, half volley wide outside the off stump. It will be wided. I'm almost certain of it. I am sure of it because it has been given a wide. So Ajinkya Rahane, who's done so well stepping in for Virat Kohli, who left after the first test match to be present for the birth of his child. Congratulations to him, of course. So do you now revert back to Virat Kohli as your captain? You after this extraordinary, maybe the greatest test win of all time, you turn around to Ajinkya Rahane and say, well done, go bat now. Tell me what you think as Wildermuth comes in again, full delivery driven down the ground to long on for a single.
Yeah, absolutely. I think without doubt Virat Kohli is the captain elect, and he must come back in the team and captain the team. I think Ajinkya Rahane has done a more than fabulous job in terms of getting into this win, but I think your captain is Virat Kohli. He's the man to lead the troops. Ajinkya Rahane would have known that in any case before Virat Kohli left to obviously be with his wife and his child. I think business as normal.
Wildermuth in now to Monroe, who drives to long on for a single. Score moves on to 74 for 2 after 9.4 overs. And the reason we're going on about the Indian team and the Australian team is because a little bit earlier today, India secured a series win, a 2-1 series win over Australia with a dramatic 3-wicket win at the Gabba. First Australian loss at the Gabba since 1988. I would have been 3 years old then.
I was 8.
Yeah, there we go. There's some maths for people. Everybody listening can do some maths right now. Work out how old we are. Work out how old we are. 74 for 2 after 9.4 overs at the Marvel Stadium as Wildermuth bowls another ball into the
Those are the days
ribs.
of World Series cricket, wasn't it?
Yeah.
With Jimmy Armanoff, Razruddin, Gavaskar.
I've heard about those guys.
Yeah.
75 for
Roger
2.
Binney.
Roger Binney, of course.
Roger Binney,
what a name.
Shastri.
Yeah, I remember
great names.
Some great documentaries came out of that. I think it was the golden era of cricket documentaries. As 75 for 2, 9.5 at the Marvel Stadium. Still haven't spotted any Marvel characters. I've been looking for them.
It's been disappointing, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they really should got to take advantage of that kind of branding. As in comes Wildermuth once again, just back of a length, pushed down the ground by Monroe to long on for a single. That completes the 10th over. Yes, it does. 76 for 2. After 10, the players are going to have a little drink. I wonder if the X factors are going to come into play. I can't imagine Brisbane would necessarily want to take any X factors. And I've just seen a tweet from Lawrence Booth which reads 36 all out, everyone injured, Kohli on paternity leave, chasing 300 and plenty at the Gabba on a cracked fifth-day pitch against one of Australia's finest attacks, greatest test series win ever, hard to argue otherwise in the immediate aftermath. And another one from Shane Warne, who says, long live test cricket, no global sport gives you what we just witnessed over the last 2 months. Absolutely love test cricket. As for Australia, no disgrace in being beaten by a better side, but I'm sure there will be a huge debrief analysing strategy and tactics from the entire series. Oh, there we go, words from Shane Warne there, and previously from Lawrence Booth. The whole world, it seems, certainly the cricketing world, my Twitter is full of tweets about the Australia game. There isn't anything about pandemics or, local government or anything like that. All the other things are
nice to take our mind off some of that stuff, isn't it?
Well, it's nice to get a little break at the escapism, the drama of cricket. It's the kind of win that's befitting a Bollywood film, for the Indian team. Did you catch many Bollywood films, Cubs?
I haven't, I have to be honest. No, not as yet.
It's just ahead of the Indian team coming this summer. I reckon just watch a few.
Yeah.
Something to chat about.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll tune in, man. I'll tune in.
For sure. 76 for 2 after 10 overs at the Marvel Stadium, as both teams have a little drink, as is customary in this Big Bash. It's an intriguing point for the Big Bash. Only a couple of games shy of the playoff stages. And it's a very unusual playoff structure as well in the Big Bash. I mean, you get used to the old days of semi-finals and finals, right? Or quarterfinals, semi-final, finals, or you just have your round robin where your top 2 teams play the final. But it's a very, very different structure. It already started with the IPL introducing the American-style playoffs, and then the Big Bash took it to a whole nother level. So I'll give you a little insight into the format of the tournament, because it really is quite bizarre the way, well, I say bizarre, it's just very unusual, to be honest with you, the way it's organized. So you have the first of the playoffs is called the Eliminator, which is the 4th place team against the 5th place team. Then you have the Qualifier, which is the 1st place team versus the 2nd place team, and the winner of that goes through to the final. Then you have the Knockout, which is the 3rd place team versus the winner of the Eliminator, which is the 4th, 5th. And then you have the Challenger, which is the loser of the Qualifier, which is the 1st versus 2nd, versus the winner of the Knockout, which was the 3rd versus the winner of the Eliminator. And then you have the final. It's the most extraordinary structure.
That's too early in the morning to process all that.
I'm telling you, if anybody at home or wherever you're listening managed to understand that, I applaud you. You did very well. 76 for 2 after 10 overs at the Marvel Stadium. And Darren Lehman, the Brisbane Heat coach, he'll be a happy man right now. 76 for 2. They've done well to hold them back. They've struggled to get away in this game after the dismissals of Roy and Livingston here, the Perth Scorchers, as Beasley comes into the attack, and this time the ball's been worked off his pads by Munro into the leg side for a single. I would say, on balance, in the old school point structure, I'd say Brisbane Heat ahead on points. What do you reckon, Carbs?
Yeah, I think they've slightly got their noses in front, simply on the basis that they've had a few gimmies from the Scorchers. Two men in form, really, Roy and Livingston, who've been devastating over the last few games. To get them relatively cheaply, to restrict them sort of around 70.
Back of a length, it's gone up in the air, it's been caught at backward point. Inglis has gone, Basley's got the wicket. And that really puts the Brisbane Heat on top now. 1 for 1 off point 2. What a start that's been. An inspired choice by the Brisbane Heat captain as the Perth Scorchers lose their 3rd wicket. 77 for 3 after 10.2 overs.
Yeah, you kind of felt something was gonna crack at some stage, because Inglis and Munro really have struggled in this middle phase. Haven't really got going, and you do feel that something was going to give, and unfortunately it was Joss Inglis' wicket. He played nicely, but just really couldn't break out. You felt, 27 off 25 balls, 25 off 20 balls for modern T20 standards is obviously quite slow. Whether it's the pitch not quite coming on, I mean, looks a decent surface. Not sure, but maybe credit just has to go to the Brisbane Heat bowlers. I think they've been brave. They've hit that good length. They've made it difficult for the Scorchers batsmen to get underneath them, to loft them over the top. Scorchers are stuttered, I would say.
Absolutely. Well, the X-Factor bowler, Basley, has made an immediate impact. He's been brought in at the X-Factor mark for Bartlett. So Bartlett went out and Basley came in. And that was the X-Factor sub. And you often see these X-Factor subs actually make a difference in this tournament, and this has certainly been the case here. The 3rd wicket to fall. What an inspired choice. You bring on your X-Factor sub, he gets your wicket, 2nd ball. As a captain and a selector, you look like a genius, don't you?
Isn't it? So maybe the feeling is that the wicket is a good wicket, and maybe they've dispensed with the bowler. With the extra batter, to get an extra bowler in.
Well, Cameron Bancroft in to face against Basley as he bowls a foolish, almost half volley. It's just been driven gently wide of the fielder at mid-off, who runs round. They'll take a single, so Bancroft off the mark immediately. 78 for 3 now after 10.3 overs.
So this is an interesting move again for me for the Scorchers. I know they obviously Mitch Marshall would usually be the guy to come in at this stage. To send in Cameron Bancroft, who's not a powerful hitter at this stage, and someone who relies a lot on pace on the ball.
In comes Bazley once again, back of a length. It's been pulled this time by Munro into the gap. That was so innocuous, all the way along the ground, and it went for 4. It was as nonchalant as you like. Everybody was nonchalant. The batsman, the keeper, the fans, and certainly the fielders in the deep as that went to the boundary. Munro slowly accelerating here, finding his rhythm a little bit, Michael Carberry.
Yeah, that was a lovely shot. Lovely timing, just, didn't try and overhit it. It was almost like a little punch, jab, sort of pull shot. Not really a great delivery from Bazley.
82 for 3 after 10.4 overs. Munro on strike. In comes Bazley again, flicked into the leg side. They'll take the first one quickly, and that's all they'll get. Fielder on top of it very quickly. 83 for 3 after 10.5. A bit of a Rishabh Pant in that last shot, wasn't there? But the flick.
Flick.
Yeah.
Yeah, but just, back at my point, sending in Cameron Bancroft at this stage, I'm a little bit surprised by that maybe the promotion of someone who's a slightly bigger hitter, maybe the likes of like a Hardy or someone like that, who, can clear the ropes, as opposed to Bancroft, who's a bit more of a, if you excuse me for saying, a bit more of a conventional batsman.
In comes Bazley, has been played down to long on for a single. I love that you had to apologise for calling him a conventional batsman. like that's some kind of slur in modern cricket. He's just a conventional batsman. 84 for 3 after 11 overs. Bancroft on 2 off 2. Munro on 31 off 29 at the Marvel Stadium in the Big Bash. It's Perth Scorchers versus Brisbane Heat, but the world still continues to discuss the extraordinary test match that concluded a little bit earlier today, with India completing a series win over Australia with a win at the Gabba by 3 wickets in the most dramatic of fashion. And I mean, this speaks to this Indian team really, and the kind of the grit and determination that they're kind of an oddly likeable team. And I say that because the Indian cricket team over the last sort of 10-15 years, the BCCI, they don't get the best press, they don't have the best reputation. Some people think of them as bullies, the way they organise the finances of world cricket. But this team, it's been generally very well liked. This win has been really well received as Gregory comes in and the ball's been worked into the mid-wicket region for a single. Yep, just the single. 85 for 3 off 11.1 overs. I mean, the way I gauge it, Michael Carberry, obviously England fans delighted, as they often are when Australia lose anything. Even Australians, very, very gracious Australians, we've heard from Shane Warne and so many other people saying wonderful things about this Indian team. But even Pakistan cricket fans.
Jeez.
I know.
Never.
It's a sign of the apocalypse, isn't it? Pakistan cricket fans.
Let's just say it's a year of firsts, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, they've been so generous to this Indian team, and that doesn't always happen historically. So it really is extraordinary. As in comes Gregory, as this time just back of a length has been cut nicely just ahead of the fielder at point. The man sweeping in the deep will come round, and they will take 2 runs. So Munro trying to build a little bit more momentum here. He's on 33 of 30. He's faced plenty of deliveries. Time to accelerate. 87 for 3.
Well, I think again you look at the previous leaders of the Indian cricket team. I think back to like MS Dhoni. Very for me one of the absolute gentlemen of the world game.
Gregory driven to long on for a single.
And then obviously more recent Virat Kohli, who I think for me is the best player in the world. I think very, very likeable guy. I've always been a great admirer of the way he plays the game. He plays it hard, but you can tell he still has a deep respect for the fabrics of the game. For me, the poignant moment where I really Virat Kohli went up for me was that point where he protected Steve Smith when Steve Smith was obviously getting that unfortunate incident with the crowd, and Virat Kohli took it upon himself to go to that section of the crowd and ask them not to boo Steve Smith, as someone who served his time for his mistakes, and came out publicly and defended Steve Smith. I thought that was massive, and I think for me that's where that was a point where I thought that's a real stand-up thing to do.
Classy guy.
Yeah, real classy thing to do. He doesn't have to do that, being it's an opponent, but he's a human.
Gregory in once again full, and this time jabbed out by Munro into the onside for another single. He moves on to 35 now. The score is 90 for 3 after 11.5 overs for the Perth Scorchers. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's a very, when we think about Virat Kohli, he's a very Australian style player. He approaches his game in a very Australian style, and in the game of cricket, that's kind of a badge of honour, isn't it, to play Australian style? It means you play your cricket hard, you're aggressive, you're confident, you're full of beans. Like, this is it's a badge of honour in cricket, and he certainly wears it well. As back of a length from Gregory, he's been pushed into the gap in the covers. The batsman takes a single. Bancroft is going at a run a ball for his 5. After 12 overs, the Perth Scorchers are 91 for 3. And remember, the power surge has yet to be taken, so there's 2 overs of that to come. Some excitement here that we're looking forward to. We've already seen an X-Factor sub make an immediate impact as Bazley took a wicket with his second delivery, in fact. An inspired choice by the Brisbane Heat. But again, the headlines around the world today will be about that India win. It's just it's one of those things. It's a great game of cricket. I've got to be honest with you, Michael. I know it's a very unpopular thing to say in the modern day, but I've enjoyed the Big Bash more than a lot of the Test cricket recently. And I've watched it. Don't get me wrong. I watched all of it. I watched Pakistan, New Zealand, and England, Sri Lanka, and India, and Australia. Particularly, there's nothing else to do, so I'm watching tons of cricket. But there's something about the Big Bash that I've really loved. And I love getting up in the morning and watching this game as Bazley comes in again and pushes the batsman back into this crease, who plays defensively into the covers for no run. 91 for 3 after 12.1.
Yeah, I mean, I still sit here, still feel I'm very fortunate to be able to say I've played in 2 seasons of it. It was definitely some of the best cricket I've played in, been a part of, all round, from a competitive point of view, from a conditions point of view, just the way people got behind the tournament, the way it was organised.
In comes Bazley now once again. Thick outside edge, goes to backward point. They run through for a quick single. There's a shy at the stumps and had it connected. I think he'd probably still be in, to be fair. Single taken though, 92 for 3.
Yeah, I think the Scorchers recognise now that they've got to start scampering, start taking some of these fielders on. If they're sending some of the likes of Bancroft in, I mean, this is what he's got to do. He's got to keep ticking his strike over, 6 or 7 balls. He's not really setting the world alight at this stage, and what you don't want to do now is to put pressure on someone like Monroe. For him to get out now, it'll be
Bazley outside edge, and it just beats the diving hands of the keeper and races away for 4 runs. Well, it's not the most elegant runs Monroe scored today, but he'll take them all the same. 96 for 3, a chance for the Brisbane Heat to really press that pressure home. He went at it really hard, and in the end the keeper couldn't quite get near it, but Bazley will feel a little bit unlucky as he flicks his hair back. 96 for 3.
He's bowled well, hasn't he?
Yeah.
He's just kept it simple, hasn't he? He's just bashed back of a length, not got too full, and Monroe trying to manufacture something that wasn't quite there.
In comes Bazley once again, short and pulled high and long over square leg for a 6. It wasn't quite a flat 6. It had the feel of a flat 6, but it kind of just looped over the fielder in the deep. And if he didn't get a hold of the last one, he certainly got a hold of this one, Monroe. He's on to 45 now, 102 for 3 after 12.4 overs.
It was an amazing shot, because you'd say it's almost like it was not a full pull shot, wasn't it? It's almost a crouching sort of punch flick. I wouldn't describe that very well.
It sounds a bit like a Hong Kong film, really, then, isn't it?
Crouching Tiger, what's it called? Hidden Dragon, yeah.
Crouching punch, elegant flick.
Elegant flick.
Yeah. Bazley in now, full toss this time, beats the batsman for pace. I think they run through for what I'm sure will be given a leg by. 103 for 3 now after 12.5 overs. I'll jump. Well, Henry Moran come back in after this delivery, but yeah, I'm keen to get your thoughts on this tournament and the experience of trying to shine. Like, we've seen so many English players go out there as well, trying to reinvent themselves, maybe trying to make an impression. And we know England's domestic team is incredibly strong. As the next delivery is on the pads of Bancroft, he flicks into the deep. They take a single. So the score after 13 overs is 104 for 3. I'm going to jump off and let Henry Moran come back in. But in the meantime, tell us what an opportunity it is, what a platform it is. In fact, we'll let Henry come after one more over. I would like to talk about this with you. Ready? So what kind of opportunity is it for players to showcase their skills in a tournament like the Big Bash?
Well, I think the main one really, you're in the spotlight. You're playing against some of the world's best players. not just from an Australian point of view, but a lot of overseas players now are playing in the tournament. I think it's a kind of, so from a batting challenge point of view, I think you get fast bouncy wickets to really develop your game as an young English player. It's great to see the likes of Tom Bantons, who had a go at there last year, Jason Roy, guys who young players sort of making their way, other young players should I say, making their way through the game.
It's Wildermuth in. He bowls a length delivery, big wild swing from Bancroft, beats the outside edge.
It's a different challenge from, say, the IPL, where you're dealing with a lot of spin and slow wickets. Now you're dealing with the genuine pace. You're facing like a Billy Stanlake bowling 155 clicks on bouncy wickets. You're having to develop your back foot game. I think it's wonderful to see that now. Even the older statesmen like Joe Denley's 35, getting the opportunity, getting good reward for some good seasons in the domestic one-day game here.
104 for 3, the Perth Scorchers. In comes Wildermuth once again, back of a length, and once again the ball's played defensively into the ground. The batsman at the non-strikers end was a little bit out of his crease there, and there's a bit of dynamism about this Brisbane Heat team right now as they move around the field. They're well and truly up for this, and they need to win this game to stay in the hunt. 104 for 3 after 13.2 overs, and so close was that shy at the stumps. It's a big game.
Yeah, and I think also credit to Australian Cricket Board to recognising that England are producing some of the best world one-day players, short-form players in the world at the moment, to allow them to sort of come over and play in their tournament. Obviously, it started with the likes of myself, Michael Lum, Kevin Peterson, Luke Wright, who were sort of, if you like, that first batch of people going over to Australia to play, and it's just obviously continued, and I think it's been great. You look at someone like Jason Roy, how he's developed, Alex Hales as well, all these guys now, Sam Billings, all getting the opportunity. I think you're always adding to your education as a player.
Absolutely, and what a platform it is, and what a league it is. It's so closely placed right now as Wildermuth pulls out of his delivery. 105 for 3 is the score. It's a big game here. The Perth Scorchers currently in 5th place in the Big Bash League, and the Brisbane Heat in 6th place. So, and the winner of this game will go, there's only 1 point between them, so the winner of this game, bear in mind there's a Big Bash boost point to come, but the winner of this game will end up in either 4th or 5th place, so all to play for, and those playoff standings, only one of these teams is going to get there. And don't forget the Adelaide Strikers right on their tail. They've got 20 points from their 11 games as well. The Renegades, 10 points from their 11 games. They've really struggled. A full delivery from Wildermuth, and it's been driven out to the man sweeping in the covers. They take a single, 106 for 3 after 13.4 overs. And it's very tight. The Sydney Sixers have been absolutely incredible. They've won 4 of their last 5 games as well. They've got 32 points from their 11 games. They're right at the top of the table, and then followed by the 2nd, 3rd and 4th teams, all even on 23 points after 11 matches. Thunder, Stars and Hobart Hurricanes. But it's really 5th and 6th that's going to be exciting here.
That's the one, is it?
This is very much for the playoff places. In comes Wildermuth, full outside the off stump, driven out to mid-wicket by Bancroft. He takes a single. He's struggling to get away at the moment. Bancroft's got 9 off 12.
I think he's got to get on with it here now, Bancroft. I think it's either hit out or get out time here. This is not really achieving anything here for the Scorchers. 9 off 12. I think the message has got to be sent out here. Look, you got to try and get on with it, because the danger is now Munro now is going to feel under pressure to do all the scoring himself, and he's going to pick the wrong option and get out, and that's you can't afford him not to be there now with the surge.
46 off 36 so far for Munro as he plays the next ball to the fielder at short extra cover. That's a dot ball from Wildermuth, and that concludes a good over from him. The 14th over is history. 107 for 3 as Munro looks to the skies. He knows he's missed out. There was a full toss.
You can see the frustration building, can't you? And this is the danger now. Is what I was talking about is him feeling now he's got to do all the scoring himself, with Bancroft not really getting the ball off the square.
Yeah, it's going to be a thrilling climax to this game, Garbs. Who do you think? What do you think is going to be a good score here? I'll have you chat about it while I make way for Henry Moran.
Well, I think Scorchers really got to be looking 150 as a minimum. Still 6 overs to go, but you do feel that something's got to give here in terms of getting Cameron Bancroft either off strike or let someone else have a go almost. And obviously I mean that respectfully to Cameron Bancroft, but it's not really the innings that's required at this stage. You need someone to at least find at least one boundary and over at the moment, and he seems to be struggling to do that. It's not really his game. He's more of someone who looks to pick up the ones and twos. He's very adept at that kind of stuff. But at this stage you feel the innings does need a bit of a kickstart.
It does feel that way. I know that post everything that happened in South Africa and sandpaper and whatever else, and his involvement in that, he took up quite a lot of yoga, and this innings has felt a bit sort of zen, hasn't it? It's not quite sort of, it's not shown any sort of frantic.
Bit of sleep, innit?
It is just a little bit. Yeah. In fact, it's a very interesting story. He very nearly left the game entirely to pursue that side of his life and that interest in his life. But in all seriousness, it's just all felt a little bit unhurried, it's lacked a little bit of intent this innings so far. Bancroft on 9 from 12. Morkel will bowl his third over, the 15th of the innings, 107 for 3 as Morning Morkel charges in. Well, that's more like it from Cameron Bancroft.
Here we go.
A little ramp over the shoulder. That's either 4 or 6. We'll get confirmation in just a moment. It's clattered over the ropes. You're saying 6, Michael Carberry.
That's a 6. I think it just dribbled over the rope. I was going to say.
They're going to say it is 6. I think it's a little shovel over the shoulder. Yep, I think that's probably a foot over the rope, almost exactly straight behind the keeper, and Bancroft suddenly plays a sort of shot that just makes you think, well,
maybe he's awake.
Maybe he's got this in him.
Yeah, but this is what he's got to do. For me, he's just tottering along at 9 off 12 before that. Obviously, that's 6. He's got to start putting some pressure back on the bowlers here. Can't just allow Morné Morkel to run up and bowl another over for 6.
Bancroft goes hard again into the offside. In the air, could be a chance of a catch, and he's gone. Well, he was obviously showing more intent from those 2 deliveries. The first one a 6, the second one a catch at deep cover, and a first wicket for Morné Morkel in the game. It is 113 for 4. Bancroft goes for 15 from 14.
Yeah, good bowling for Morkel. Again, he's been disciplined, bashing that sort of back of a length line and cramping his Perth Scorchers batsmen for room. I almost see it almost a little bit as a bit of a blessing in disguise for the Scorchers batsmen here, because it allows someone who's maybe a little bit more adept at clearing the ropes to come in and hopefully give this innings a little bit of impetus.
As a batsman, you wouldn't have been in this position many times, Carbs, the way you struck the ball in limited overs cricket, but have you experienced that feeling of you just can't hit it off the square, and you feel the ball you're building up, and you know that the pressure's coming?
Oh, yeah, it's
and
horrible.
All these
it's
things.
a horrible feeling, honestly. My first 2 games I played for the Scorchers were very similar, where I've just really struggled. I hadn't played much cricket, obviously coming out of an English winter, to come to the WACA of all places to try and whack around Pat Cummins and the like. It's not easy. But this is where, again, I think tactically, those who are running the show in the sheds, I think Ash Turner is a much more prolific ball striker than Cameron Bancroft. I mean, that's not, as I say, no disrespect to Cameron Bancroft. He's a fine player, but in this format, it's horses for courses. You've got to give your chance to your better ball strikers.
Turner on strike. He defends the first ball from Morkel, which rears up off a length, hits him high on the bat, and it is a dot ball. So 113 for 4. Ashton Turner, the skipper, is the new man in. He's batted 7 times in the tournament thus far, with a strike rate of 171. Average of 21, but it's that strike rate that's interesting at this stage of an innings, isn't it? That's what we're keeping an eye on.
Absolutely. It's all about strike rate now. Average is, there's a thing of the past.
Ashton Turner leans on a ball that's on leg stump. Will get 1, turns for the second. It won't be there. Throw comes in for the deep, and they'll get just that single. 114 for 4, and that's sometimes where the metric of average is a slightly misleading one in T20 cricket, because somebody that bats at 6, as Ashton Turner is here, is likely to, if all going well, bat for 2 or 3 overs at most.
Exactly.
So, the high risk element of it.
It's almost like similar to the Joss Buttler discussion. Joss Buttler is obviously one of our best ball strikers in the England team. Is he better suited opening the batting or batting at 6? You know, and it's been that forever debate. Do you give your best batsman the most balls, or do you leave them in a position where they've clearly won a lot of games? And for me, in this situation, it's a little bit similar. Is that you've got Ash Turner, who, as you say, strike rate of 170. All right, the average is low, but you're looking at the situation where you've lost impetus. And remember, you haven't got Mitchell Marsh to come in, so you've lost some dynamic hitting there as well. For me, you've got to give Ash Turner potentially, you know, he could have had 3 more extra overs to come in.
On his toes, into the leg side, will get 1, maybe 2. He's played it into space. He does turn for the second. He'll get it comfortably as well. 116 for 4 is the score. 117 for 4, end of the 15th over. Sorry, Carbs, carry on.
Yeah, you know, the sort of 13 balls that Bancroft used up there. You know, you think Ash Turner could have used those probably a little bit better. You know, you would like to think if someone like Ash Turner of 13 balls, he would have capitalised, put a few over the ropes, maybe about 30 or 13, which is more than reasonable strike rate, you would think, for modern day T20 play. So I didn't really understand why sending Bancroft in at that stage. I would send Bancroft in if Scorchers were perhaps 50 for 4, because you need someone to, excuse me for saying it again, that proper batsman to kind of repair the damage. But at this stage now, you needed someone to come in and give it some welly.
Will we see the power surge? That's the question.
Well, I think you have to, yeah. You've got to be thinking it. It's got to be in the back of your mind now. I mean, you don't want to leave it. I mean, I suppose now you probably have to delay it. As probably, I would say, you're looking really about around 17 overs, 18 overs, just to give Turner a chance to get in and get a feel of things. But you don't want to leave it too late.
Start a new over. Basie's going to bowl it. The X Factor sub. It's on leg stump and clipped into deep mid-wicket for 1. He's inching towards a half century, Munro. He's on to 48, 118 for 4. During the interval of this game, we're going to be reflecting on the amazing test match between Australia and India. Won by India. They were given 2% chance to chase down 328. They've done it with 10 balls remaining, 3 wickets in hand. And if you were following the events overnight, you'll know how exciting it was. If you weren't, we've got a treat for you during the interval of this game. More in a moment. Turner on 3 is just punching a ball into the offside for 1. Happy with that single and looking to get himself in, as you say, Michael, before the power surge is taken. 119 for 4. We'll be hearing from Justin Langer, the Australian coach, chatting to the ABC, and also hearing some of the highlights from the final day. And so look out for that during the interval of this match. And of course, on BBC Sounds later on today, we'll have the full reaction with Jim Maxwell, Dirk Nanas, Ian Chappell, plus the interviews with some of the key protagonists from the series. So do look out for that. It is well worth a listen. Munro on 48, on his pads again. 1 taken down the ground, 2 wide, long on. It is 120 for 4. It is a little bit of a coiled spring, this innings at the moment. You're just waiting for something to happen.
Yeah, it's delicately poised, I would say. The one thing Scorchers would not want now is for Munro to get out at this stage with Ash Turner just gone in. But I think they'll be looking for someone like Turner to really stick around. And then obviously,
next ball from Baisley is seeing Turner just up on his toes, into the leg side, looking for 2. He's going to have to be quick. It's good running, though, and there's a cry of appeal from, I think, who is that? Is that Joe Burns that's ended up in a heap? And the umpire is saying absolutely no chance. In fairness, I think the fielder couldn't quite see where the batsman was and was just quite excited by the fact the throw was good and that he'd managed to deflect it onto the stumps, but he's comfortably home. And it won't be the run out they were looking for. 1-2-2 for 4.
I think that was my old mate Joe Denny.
Oh, is it?
I think he whacked him straight on the shin. Which he was enjoyed.
Never funny.
It's when it's a mate.
Yeah, except when it's your mate. Turner is on 6. Full delivery. Dug out into the leg side. They'll decide against the second run this time round because Denley has shown how quick he is getting to the stumps, and indeed they do accept it to just be that single. So 123 for 4. We've got a ball left at the 16th over. Will we see the power surge at the end of this over? I think we might.
I think possibly, yeah. I mean, I was just about to say, you just haven't seen enough of this from the Scorchers, really pushing the fielders. It's, like I say, it's all been a little bit zen, hasn't it? A little bit meandering, sort of, since Ash Turner's come in, he's been busy, in fairness. He's pushed, he's tried to push the twos.
Monroe 49 from 40 as Baisley's into him. Clip down the ground for one that'll bring him his 50. They'll turn for the second. It won't be there. And it is a half century for Colin Munro. He's played really nicely from 41 deliveries. He's almost played that classic innings that you talk about. Just over a run of ball, kept the innings ticking over, and has set the opportunity for them to go big in the last 4 overs. The end of the 16th, it's 124 for 4.
Yeah, I think Munro's played really well. He came in at a difficult time. Obviously, just lost two key wickets. And he's held the innings together, but I do feel he needed a little bit more support around him in terms of, as I said, just being able to push those ones into twos. He looks quite a big ground at the Marvel Stadium. Some huge boundaries. I think you really got to take your chance and push those boundary riders. Sometimes, there's huge throws coming in from the deep. It's all been a little bit sort of push for one, take the easy one, and not really get on that front foot, show that intent, where you might get the odd fumble, the odd overthrow. This format, you've got to be brave, I think.
Only the 4 4s and the 1 6 in the innings so far. To all intents and purposes, pretty good going, but it's not frantic, is it?
No, and maybe look, he's the guy batting on it. He might say, look, it's actually not as good a pitch as he thought for stroke play, which as I say, he came at a time where they just lost 2 key wickets, so you've got to say hats off to him, really stuck in there. But I think he needs that support around him for guys to come in and really be busy.
Lewis Gregory, it's a full toss first up, which is driven into the offside by Munro. Fumble from Denley in the covers, but just the 1 run, 125 for 4. Still we wait for the power surge. Those 2 overs where the fielding restrictions come back in.
I think I feel they're going to leave this as long as they can, the Scorchers. I think they're a little bit concerned, obviously not having Mitch Marsh in the lineup today, not leaving themselves too long, too far out.
Gregory once more, leading edge into the offside. Turner will have to be quick. They are quick enough. 1 more taken, 126 for 4. Lewis Gregory, who's had a decent tournament. He's taken 6 wickets across the first 6 matches that he's played, including a 3-for, and run scoring has been healthy enough as well. 31 not out was the high point in a winning cause, but average just under 20 with a strike rate of 141. He's done the job that was required of him pretty much as an all-rounder. Gregory again, fresh from a haircut, running in. Munro on strike. Oh, it's a filthy full toss into the offside, just beats the dive of the fielder in the covers, and a huge clump of dirt and earth is kicked up as the fielding's done by the boundary edge at deep cover.
He's replaced to do it.
Yeah, and I'm surprised that's not been signalled perhaps as a no ball for waist high. That was a very loose delivery and he's not quite been punished for it. It's 128 for 4. Good work from Max Bryant in the deep.
Yeah, I think Gregory's been a great find for Brisbane Heat. English fans will know him very well. Obviously, he's a very solid cricketer in county cricket.
Again, a full toss into the leg side. That'll be 6 runs. Well, once you might get away with 2 full tosses. Well, Munro on 50, at that point 53, was unlikely to turn it down, and it's 6 into the leg side quite comfortably. 134 for 4.
It's just what you want when you're looking to break out. The shin high sort of, I think it was attempted slow ball, maybe a cutter or something that went wrong from Gregory, and Munro again playing that sort of crouching flick over the leg side. That seems to be his sort of go-to area. Gregory just getting that one slightly wrong.
He's on 59. Gregory moving in again. 5th ball of the 17th over. He's hit once more into the leg side. Another titanic blow into the sky and into the seating as well. 6 more. Munro is on to 65. It's 140 for 4. It may not be a power surge over officially, but in terms of the run scoring in it, this is a real boost to the Perth Scorchers total. 70 metres into the leg side.
Absolutely. I might have done the Scorchers a little bit of injustice here. I think now 150 definitely looks more than on the cards from this over. I think this is what they've got to do now. They've got to start targeting a couple of these Brisbane Heat bowlers. Someone like Gregory's a lesser pace.
Gregory in again, once more, very full. Won't be a boundary on this occasion, but could be a couple if they're quick, and they are quick enough. Throw comes in from Morkel, misses at the non-striker's end. And the over concludes, and an expensive one as well. How many did we see from that? I'll count that out as about 18, I think, in total. 142 for 4 is the score after 17. And Munro has been the lead protagonist in giving the ball a really good whack over the ropes. And actually, power surge or not, you can't have fielders 12 rows back.
Very true, very true. But I think, I think a lot of credit's got to go to Ashton Turner as well. He's come in and he's been busy. Maybe some advice has come from the sheds. Look, we need to start pushing things along here, and he's almost given Munro a little bit of a nudge himself. They've been scampering in amongst these huge shots over the leg side, but you set those shots up by putting these bowlers and fielders, more importantly, under pressure.
Well, Gregory will be frustrated because he's missed his length. First, it was far too full. It was whipped away on the full toss from the pads, and then it was right in that slot, and he could just throw his arms through it. So 17th over comes to an end, the start of the 18th. We've got a dot ball first up as Steketee is into the attack once more, and a good full Yorker length delivery outside off stump beats the bat of Ashton Turner.
Yeah, good start from Steketee. Yeah, a bit of a slower ball, just sort of dipped under Ash Turner's bat, who just looked to go across the ball slightly instead of going straight through the line. And he'll be another one of these bowlers now that I think Scorchers may look to target.
Turner on strike as Steketee is in again, driven down the ground for 1. 1-4-3 for 4. 2 balls into the 18th over, so it will be the final 2 that see the power surge.
Yeah, I figured that this was the way the Scorchers may go. As I say, they're missing some batting in the lineup, missing the experience of a Mitch Marsh who's out injured. So to allow the last 2 overs of the innings to go towards the surge, I think probably the right thing to do now. Ash Turner's in, he's going well.
Munro on 67, Steketee into him, outside the off stump, it's chipped away, clears the infield, there's going to be a chase for the man at backward point, but the ball will win. Steketee stands, hands on hips, and thinks, well, what have I done wrong there? Well, it's good batting. He's jammed it away and managed to find not only the gap, but also the elevation. 147 for 4. Munro is now 71 from 47.
It's that rueful smile from Steketee, really, because he knew he'd probably done Munro slightly. It was a great slower ball, wide slower ball, but Munro was just about good enough to slice it over backward point for another boundary.
Steketee into Munro, tries a reverse shovel. That's the only way I can describe that shot. A little switch of the hands, and then he's tried to play it over his shoulder, missed it entirely, and through to the keeper it goes. And this time Steketee's smile is one of, well, what are you doing?
Well, I've never seen that before in my life. What would you describe that? I'm lost. A right-handed hook pull, left-handed hook, reverse hook pull.
Something like that. Munro waiting and walloping into the leg side. 6 more. This time a little bit straighter. It lands between the edge of the boundary and before the seating, but it's 6 more runs, and Munro's enjoying himself. The 150's up, 153 for 4. We've got a ball left of the 18th over.
Yeah, it's great batting here from Munro, just setting his feet, and Steketee just coming nicely in that slot zone for him to baseball it over mid-wicket. It's not great bowling, you would say, from Brisbane Heat these last 2 overs. They really haven't settled in on a real plan at the death here.
Another full toss. Batters. Munro into the leg side for 1. They'll turn for the second. Oh, it dribbles through the legs of 2 fielders. It's all falling apart for the Brisbane Heat. They'll get back for the second. 155 for 4 after 18 overs. There is much enthusiasm from the back of the commentary box. With 2 overs left of the innings, 155 for 4.
It's someone's fantasy team,
It's
isn't
because Atif Nawaz's fantasy team includes both Munro
he's looking
and
much
Turner.
happier.
And suddenly, as he sees the power surge about to be taken, with Munro on 79 and Turner with the ability to clear the rope for fun, he's thinking of the points here.
He is.
He's thinking,
he's just rubbing hands, isn't he?
This could be a big day. Has your fantasy team got it? Has it got its own name? Do you give it a name? Down, under, over. Okay, that's a solid team name. It's always a battle, isn't it, to get the right balance between
right team. Yeah, you've got to get the right name. Yeah,
and enough identification so people know it's you. Yeah. It's a difficult balance to strike. 155 for 4. 18 overs gone. The umpire whirls his arms to say power surge time.
He's obviously a man of good taste as well. He's put a lot of the Scorchers players in. You know, just putting it out there, people. Okay.
Just
putting it out there. Not that there's any bias on my side here, but you know.
Lovely to have former England Test batsman and Perth Scorchers batsman Michael Carberry with us today.
Completely unbiased.
Yeah, completely. Winner in 2015. I was on my phone the other day and looking at photos from, oddly, 2015, and I have a photo of you signing autographs, Carbs, just before I interviewed you on the boundary edge at the Wacker. All in your orange for the Perth Scorchers.
Different from the yellow and blue from Hampshire.
Very different.
Very different, yeah.
Slightly warmer than the Aegeus.
It was a lot warmer. Let me tell you.
Possibly. Yeah. Morning Morkel's going to bowl the penultimate over of the innings, the first of the power surges. Morkel in this enormous shirt. It is an absolute whopper. Morkel in, bowls, that's a good ball, it chases the batsman, he can do nothing with it other than help it into the leg side.
It's not flattering, is it?
It's why he's actually got through for 1, that's good running, 156 for 4. It's not flattering. I remember being astonished to discover, I can't remember where I read it, that Peter Schmeichel, the former Manchester United goalkeeper, wore an XXXL goalkeeper shirt, which I thought, I didn't know those sort of, like, for, you know, that sort of stuff.
Didn't know that.
There's a couple more X's on that for Mornay, isn't there? If there is a stiff breeze, and lucky it's a stadium with a roof, because if there's a stiff breeze, Mornay's going flying.
That's all right.
Honestly.
Yeah, they obviously didn't think about the bigger man when they were designing those jumpers, right?
Or they were thinking about when Mornay Morkel said, I'm signing for the team, but I'll need quite a big shirt. Somebody in the office has thought, well, he says he needs a big shirt.
Take out some stitches, eh?
Yeah, I'm going to make sure it is absolutely enormous. He's running in what can only be described as a shiny teal bedsheet with a few sponsors on it, and he's now just waiting. He's probably losing a few miles an hour every delivery. The wind resistance of Morning Morkel's shirt. Munro on 79. He's coming round the wicket, and it's short and a pace taken off it. It's a beautiful ball. Really is a fine piece of bowling from Morning Morkel. And he's completely beaten the batsman, and no run. So just 1 for the first couple of balls of the over. 156 for 4. What do we reckon from here? We're in the power surge now.
Well, I think got to look at 175, something like that. It's got to be a target. 170, 175. I think they would like something up around that sort of end of the scale.
Single and a dot from the first 2 balls of the 19th over. Morkel is in the air it goes. He's on one knee as he plays. It could be a chance of a catch. No fielder can get there. There are the restrictions, of course, but it went high in the air and not that close to the boundary, so someone in the circle could have got close. Steckerty, in the end, from mid-on, wasn't quite close enough, and they'll get back for 2. 158 for 4.
Yeah, it was a very, very odd shot from Munro. He gets in some odd positions, but it's a great time at the ball. Yeah, I mean, the keys really, I mean, they haven't really been able to get after Morkel. It's been a fine spell, so probably 175 is a bit of a push, but certainly a look at what, they get up around 170, be more than handy.
Into the offside it goes, but all along the ground, and Wildermuth will pick up in the cover, so just 1 run, and a frustrated Munro at the non-striker's end tosses his bat in the air and catches it again, because he knows that when you take the power surge you have to score runs. That's why it's there. But 4 from the first 4 deliveries of the 19th over, even a 19th over without the fielding restrictions in place, is not good going.
And this is where, Ash Turner now really has got to throw caution to win now. I think he's got to go try and put a few over the ropes if he can. And it's easier said than done. Someone like the calibre of Mornay Morkel hasn't really allowed these Perth Scorchers batsmen to get away.
Morkel turns and will run in to bowl round the wicket. In now, Turner whips the ball into the leg side. Good, solid thwack of the ball to deep into wicket, but he doesn't get more than a single. Again, this is not quite the result the Scorchers were after. You have to say credit to the bowler. This has been an excellent over.
Yeah, I think Morkel's been the one Brisbane Heat bowler really who's he's bowled to a plan, hasn't he? He's executed well. He's got his Yorkers in. He's changed the angle now, coming around the wicket to the right-handed batsman, trying to tie up their hands. It's just used all his experience as he should do.
Morkel at the end of his mark, now comes into bowl. It's short, it's chipped away, could be a chance of a catch, and it will be. Munro goes. A brilliant over, gets the reward at the end. Chasing a short and wide delivery, Munro's just chipped it as far as cover. And the 19th over concludes with a wicket. 160 for 5, the dangerous Munro is out, and Morne Morkel has bowled a really top over. Back end of the innings, power surge, and he's got the wicket and conceded just the 5 runs.
Yeah, absolutely. Looked like a bit of a slow ball bouncer, and Munro was through the shot a little bit early, ended up sort of towing it. But what fantastic, not 82 or 54 balls was just what was required at a time where Scorcher was in a little bit of trouble, but I thought Munro played a really mature knock. He's had a good tournament up to now. He's really showed his class in his knock. So over to this lower order. It's a bit depleted lower order with the Scorchers today. Obviously, I think it's Jai Richardson they've sent in now to come and try and utilise this last over. So I think the attention now has really got to go to Ashton Turner. He's got to try and maximise what he can off this last over, try and get Scorchers up to if he can get 170, great. I say maybe one high 165s, just over would be a sort of reasonable total, you'd say.
Reasonable, but nothing more possibly. Steckedy to bowl the final over of the innings. Turner is on strike. Outside edge, he'll get lucky and he'll get 4.
Well, that's 4 of them.
That'll do. Doesn't matter how they come. Steckedy's thinking, well, at the moment, I'm bowling decent deliveries and just not getting any luck. It's a slower ball, and Ashton Turner flicks it with the outside edge down to the third man boundary. 164 for 5. And we have 5 balls left of the innings.
It's where bowling is a thankless game. Yeah, you know, this is what bowling coaches talk about. You know, trying to hit the wide line, trying to hit the get your Yorkers in, hit the crease. I mean, Skekety wasn't really. It was centimetres off, and Ash Turner getting a lucky outside edge.
Turner on strike again. This time into the leg side, nicely hit, but there is protection at deep mid wicket. Throw comes in, and it won't be anything greater than a single. 165 for 5.
In those situations now, you know, that's why I feel the Scorchers really got to be pushing for those 2s. You know, you've got to be challenging the fielder. You know, Ash Turner's got to be on strike for most of this over, and this is what's been missing, I think, through the Scorchers' innings a little bit. He's got to be pushing there for 2s. It's a big boundary. Chance your arm that he'll get the throw wrong.
Jai Richardson, he's only scored 47 runs in the tournament so far. He's not in the side for his batting, put it that way. Richardson on strike, Steckety into him, big swing, missed through to the keeper. And this is, I always wonder why teams that do take the power surge to the final 2 overs do it, because you're basically in a power surge anyway in the final 2 overs of an innings. You might as well take them earlier on, get yourself some momentum.
I think the issue they had really, mate, was sending in Cameron Bancroft when they did, because for me that was just a little bit of a waste of 2 overs. I say respectfully to Cameron Bancroft, but Ash Turner should have been in much sooner.
Richardson on strike, Steckety into him, swing, miss once again, and they do run through this time because Turner has had enough of watching dot balls from the non-striker's end. And it is 165 for 5. It's 166 for 5, I should say. 2 balls left of the innings. You feel that the Bancroft in at that point was the moment that perhaps the energy was taken out of the innings?
Yeah, I do, because Cameron Bancroft, if you know the way he plays, he's not a renowned hitter. You know, he's not a renowned hitter. He's someone who's he's what you want coming in at 40 for 3. When you were in real trouble.
Steckety bowling to Turner, chasing a delivery that's wide outside the off stump, and he'll get a boundary, will he? Oh no, what a brilliant piece of fielding. Is that 4?
Yeah.
You're saying it's 4.
Touched the rope when he was rolled over.
I think is it Lewis Gregory out there? Well, they've signalled 2 initially, they'll check it, no question.
I think his arm just touched the rope as he collected the ball there, and just as his hand just touched the pads.
It's Max Bryant, actually, rather than Lewis Gregory. he's a really good fielder in the deep. Let's have a look. This angle will tell us, I think. So the right hand comes over, gets the ball, it gets trapped under the armpit.
He might have just got away with it. It's whether the ball's in contact with his elbow as his other hand hit the sponge.
It's a good job it's not Morning Morkel, because it would have got lost in the shirt.
In the bedsheet.
It would have done. That's a bit more tight-fitting, so he might have got away with it. But it's I always wonder, at what point does a little flick of a loose bit of clothing count as being in contact? Yes.
It does, yeah.
Okay, so by extension, at what point does the ground become the ground? So if you've got particularly long grass and someone goes for a low catch, but it's not actually made contact with the soil,
right? Do
you see what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
These are the things that aren't. These are the things that I think about at 4 in the morning, Carbs.
Clearly.
It's 4 runs. There we go. And you can say you should get out more, but at the moment,
well, yeah, we'd all like to. We'd all like to, mate.
I shan't be. Final ball of the innings then, 170 for 5. Turner on strike, hits the ball in the air into the leg side, and we'll get 4 runs.
175.
There you go. Well, it's 175 is the target. That's exactly what you call for, Michael Carberry. Is that going to be enough from what we've seen?
Well, it's runs on the board. Let's just say this. I mean, I think from where they were, they would be more than happy with that. I think they would have been a little bit concerned at the 10 over mark, only having 76 on the board, and then obviously losing key wicket as well, with Josh Inglis getting out. So I think they would be reasonably happy. They'll still have to bowl very well. Obviously, someone like Chris Lynn, Max Bryan, who've been devastating at the top for the Brisbane Heat. They'll want to see the back of those 2 guys relatively early. So they'll still have to bowl very, very well. So this game is not done. I mean, I don't think it's as difficult a wicket as perhaps it looked, but we'll see. Until you don't know until both teams have batted on it.
We'll wait and see. Michael Carberry, thank you very much for the time being. Former England Test batsman, Perth Scorchers BBL winner way back in 2015. And let me go through that scorecard before we reflect on the remarkable events at the Gabba overnight. Well, the Brisbane Heat won the toss. They elected to have a field first. Jason Roy made just the 4 runs. Liam Livingstone 17. Colin Munro's 82 was a standout innings, no question. Josh Inglis contributed with 25. It was that Cameron Bancroft innings that Michael Carberry mentioned. 15 from 14, a strike rate of 107, not really doing the business for the Perth Scorchers. Ashton Turner made a quick-fire 24 at the end, and Jai Richardson not out 0 from 2. In terms of the wickets, well, 2 for Jack Wildermuth, 2 for Morning Morkel, who was the standout bowler. His 4 overs went for just 24 runs and the 2 wickets in there. Lewis Gregory was expensive, 3 overs, none for 33. James Bazley, X-Factor substitute, 3 overs, 1 for 27. So the target for victory will be 175, and for those of you keeping an eye on the Bash boost point, well, 77 is the target for the Brisbane Heat to reach after 10 overs if they are to get that Bash boost point. So the test match, Australia against India. The target for victory in the 4th innings for India, 328. Australia hadn't been beaten at the Gabba since 1988. They came into this game playing an India side without 7 of their key players. No Virat Kohli, no Jasprit Bumrah. So many big names missing through injury. Ravi Ashwin watching from the sidelines. Surely Australia's game to win. With 328 to win on the final day, somehow India got over the line. In a moment we'll hear from Justin Langer, the Australian coach, chatting to Quentin Hull and Dirk Nannes on the boundary edge at the Gabba. But first of all, let's hear the highlights of a remarkable final day.
So Cummins is in again. Sharma's edging and he's caught by Payne. There's the wicket Australia want. Sharma is out. He's been brilliantly caught by Payne, diving away to his right. A good keeper's catch in front of slip, and it's Pat Cummins, of course, who gets the breakthrough. India 1 for 80. He bowls out there now, and that is out. He's caught it slip, just as you forecast. He pitched it up. Shubman Gill played a loose shot, and he sneaked it to the left of Smith, who took the catch. Lyon gets a wicket at last. He's up to 398. Outside edge, clear, straightforward catch.
The Cummins bowling. An edge to keeper Payne, and Rahane is out. Cummins takes the wicket. It came back toward his chest. The bat was still there. It took the neck, and Australia has its third wicket. It's the wicket of Captain Rahane for 24.
Cummins is coming in, and Pujara's forward, and he's beaten a pill for LBW. That's close. Out. He's given him out. He's going to review it, of course. Oh, it's hitting the top of the leg stump. Top of the leg stump, and Pujara is out. LBW. That's the wicket that Australia have been striving for hours.
Cummins runs past him, bowls to Agarwal, drives in the air, caught by Matthew Wade at cover. What else would you expect from this series?
Now we're back with the Washington Sundar Lion bowls, and he plays a reverse sweep. He's bowled. He's bowled. He tried to take that off his stumps. Hazelwood goes in. Tucker hits it in the air. Where's that one gone? To hand? Yes.
Oh, no.
He's out caught. He's hit a stinker on the onside. Lobbed a simple catch to Nathan Lyon. He was trying to flick that away for a boundary for the winning runs, and he's been caught. Hazelwood goes in, and he gets a full toss, and he drives it through mid-off. It's going down towards the boundary. It's going to go for 4. It's all over. India have won. India have won magnificently. You could say this is one of the greatest wins India have ever had in their Test history. They've won by 3 wickets. They've chased down a score that's never been achieved on this ground, and they're out there hugging and carrying on with delight. The whole of their squad, and there's a lot of people in their squad, and they're all bursting onto the ground. This has been a fabulous Test match.
Still an awful din here from the Indian supporters that have stuck around to one of the most memorable performances in the history of their proud Test team. Justin Langer, the Australian coach, is with us and can just hear us. We're leaning in here trying to be COVID safe because we've got so much noise around us. But Justin, thanks for your time. What's the emotion at the top of your mind?
Obviously, it's incredibly disappointing to lose a Test match like that. And there'll be a lot of really disappointed players in the change room, of course. That said, the bigger picture for me is Test cricket's alive and well. I mean, I can only imagine how many million people have been watching Test cricket. There's been so much talk for a long time about what's happening with Test cricket. I mean, it's just another great example of why we love it so much. We'll obviously be disappointed. India have been brilliant throughout. They deserve great credit. They're a very, very, very tough cricket team, and as disappointed we are, it's great to see Test cricket alive and well.
It'll take some sifting through, but on reflection of today, what were the things that didn't go right for Australia?
Look, I think we'll sift through the whole series, actually, because you think about, we won the first Test so well. It was an extraordinary second innings for India in Adelaide. And then Adelaide India just haven't gone away. I mean, they are tough. They are really tough. So credit to them, but we've got areas we need to get better at. It reminded me, Pants innings reminded me a bit about Ben Stokes at Headingley. So what can we get better at? Maybe how we approach left-handers who come and take it back at us. So that's one area we'll look at. I thought young Gill played well. I think Pujara, he was the thorn in our side last series. He was again this series. So, it's been a tough series.
In hindsight, have you asked too much of your 4 frontline bowlers to try and take the wickets required in the 4 back-to-back Tests?
Well, maybe. I mean, but you can look at it another way as well. I mean, I'm really proud of the fact that those 4 guys, they all stood up for the whole series, and would have been a brave man coming into this Gabba Test match and not select those 4 bowlers. I mean, would you have?
Well, it's not my job to do it, but would you have liked your time again?
Well, I would have done the same thing. Tell me who you wouldn't have picked. Pat Cummins, Josh Hazelwood, Mitchell Stark or Nathan Lyon when the series is on the line. Which one wouldn't I have picked? I would have picked him every single day.
You've come up against an Indian side. They've lost all 4 tosses. You're basically playing against a B side. 2 players still existing. It's the summer. What do you think that says of the depth of Indian cricket and the quality of this side?
I can't say it enough, Dirk. In India, there's 1.5 billion people. If you make the first 11, you are pretty damn good, right? You've got to be tough, you've got to be hard, you've got to come through a very hard system. So we could say, some people say it's their second 11. My gosh, when you're 1.5 billion people all who love cricket like we're seeing here and see all around the world, I think we're going to give them a lot more credit than being their second 11. They deserve all the credit they get.
And likewise, what do you think that winning all 4 tosses, having this core group make it the most of the way through the summer, what room is there for improvement in the Australian side? What does that mean where this Australian side's at?
Obviously, we've got a lot of room for improvement. We've got some superstar players, but we've got to keep... I mean, if we lose a series 2-1 to India... on our home turf, with all those things you just said, there's a lot of room for us to improve, mate. And that's, in one sense, that's exciting. It's very disappointing tonight. We're going to all be hurting tonight, don't worry. And probably when we reflect on the series, but we've got lots of areas. Our batting, particularly, I think there's been at times where we've had opportunities to nail the series actually and nail Test match, and we haven't been able to do it. So we're going to get a lot tougher with that, a lot mentally tougher with that.
And where is that? Where did you think those key moments were lost across the series?
Ultimately, our opening partnerships throughout the summer. You can imagine how passionate I am about opening partnerships in the top 3. Marnus has done a good job at 3. Stevie came good at the end at number 4, but we didn't nail our opening partnerships. I think the highest opening partnership was 80 in this second innings. Our middle order, we've got a lot of starts, all the things that are so obvious. We've just got to find out reasons why it's happening.
Where is your next cricket?
Next cricketer?
Yeah, the Test side. When do you expect that next series to come off?
I'd expect it to be in South Africa, yeah. I mean,
but when?
In February, yeah. Well, you know, and there's going to be, I know people are working overtime behind the scenes. As India came out here, as we went to England, in the end of the day, it's keeping the show on the road. As I said, I can't tell you how proud I am that there's been the Test series like this in the middle of a COVID pandemic. For India to come out, we're so thankful for India to come out and have this series. It's been a tough series, and I'd expect we'll have to do that, or what? Not have to. We will do the same for South African cricket.
More live sport, pure live sport. This is 5 Live Sports Extra.
As 5 Live brings you one event, 5 Live Sports Extra brings you another. Live and uninterrupted, including cricket.
Shropsall in now. Bowls for Walter! 6 wickets for Andy Shropsall, England's hero. England win the World Cup.
athletics, swimming, boxing,
Trying to get away from danger, trying to find some sanctuary somewhere in the ring.
Formula One, golf, rugby league,
Luke Gale tries this time. Luke Gale!
rugby union, tennis, football.
Wigan with a cross from the left. Will Grigg! Goal! It's Will Grigg to put Wigan 1-0 up in the FA Cup.
Visit bbc.co.uk/5live for full listings.
More live sport, pure live sport.
You're listening to 5 Live Sports Extra.
More live sport, pure live sport. This is 5 Live Sports Extra.
As 5 Live brings you one event, 5 Live Sports Extra brings you another. Live and uninterrupted, including rugby union, with live coverage from the English Premiership, the Challenge Cup and Pro 14s.
What a long overhead pass. Oh, it's taken there by Nathan Hughes. He's up to the line and over.
An opponent, lovely ball from Farrell to Jamie George, who's seen some space, and George is under the post.
Plus, international fixtures, including the Six Nations, Rugby World Cup and Autumn Internationals.
The underdogs have barked loudly.
What a take though! It's taken by Gareth Davis. Gareth Davis is going to go and go and go. Interception from Gareth Davis. He's run 3/4 of the length of the field.
Visit bbc.co.uk/5live for full listings.
More live sport, pure live sport.
You're listening to 5 Live Sports Extra.
We're unable to bring you any live cricket at the moment. That's due to rain. As and when there's any play, we will return to the action. And you can follow updates in the meantime via the cricket section of the BBC Sports website. Hello, this is 5 Live Sports Extra and the BBC Sounds app. I'm sorry we're unable to bring you any live cricket at the moment. That's due to rain. As and when there's any play, we will return to the action. And you can follow updates in the meantime via the cricket section of the BBC Sports website. Hello, this is 5 Live Sports.
Good pace as well, 145 kilometres per hour. And welcome back to 5 Live Sports Extra listeners.
Quite enjoyed that.
Apologies for a moment. If you're just joining us, it's the Brisbane Heat taking on the Perth Scorchers earlier. The Brisbane Heat won the bat flip and put the Perth Scorchers in, and they scored 174 for 5 from their innings, and we're 2 deliveries in to the Brisbane Heat reply. They need 175 of 118 deliveries, 8.9 runs and over as the required rate. Richardson in. This time the ball's been dabbed off the back foot. They run through for a quick single. Just shy at the wrong end, I imagine. Went to the keeper's end. The batsman made it, even though he dropped his bat. Either way, the Brisbane Heat off the mark. 1 run off 3 deliveries. Well, if that went to the non-strikers in that throw, you'd imagine it would be a little bit closer. Good pressure this from the Perth Scorchers early doors.
Yeah, they look right up for it, and I think it was Jason Roy who fielded that, who's been in great nick in the field as well, taking some unbelievable catches, been very good in around that cover point region, and you do feel with a direct hit that would have been curtains for Chris Lynn.
Most definitely. You're hearing the sounds of Michael Carberry alongside me. I'm Atif Nawaz. As Jai Richardson comes in wide outside the off stump. It's a wild delivery, swung wide of the keeper, who put in the dive, and that might be 5 wides. I'm just going to have a little check on it. Well, the 4 has been confirmed. I don't think the wides have been...
I think...
He might have gotten away with one there. Okay, no, I beg your pardon.
Oh, just inside, just swung miles after it pitched.
Yeah, because the ball... He is swinging it a long way, Jai Richardson, as we've seen him do throughout this tournament. It's been so effective, so if I was the keeper, I'd feel slightly hard done by. 5 for no loss, length and defended into the ground by Chris Lynn, facing up to.
This one here, Atty. You know, I've watched where we were 5 ball. Jai Richardson's getting a little bit of movement. Why is there no slip? You're the leading wicket. You're the leading wicket taker in the tournament. You're obviously in good form. Yes, you're up against one of the form batters, but you're not going to get Chris Lynn too many opportunities to get Chris Lynn. We know he's not the best when the ball moves around.